Hello and welcome to another episode of the Project Purple podcast. I'm Dino Varley, founder and CEO of Project Purple, and we have another interview for you coming up with two very special guests after a few quick updates. As we record this episode in June, 2023 is off to an amazing year. 2022 was our record year, best year ever, and 2023 looks to be even better. So we want to thank all of our participants, all of our supporters, and everyone helping us here at Project Purple do all the great things that we do. Couple quick updates here. Most of our fall races, this is absolutely insane, are full, which usually doesn't happen by this time, but we do still have some spots if you're looking to run with us in the fall in the Berlin Marathon, Twin Cities Marathon. We have a nice sized team in Detroit, so we're still filling spots for the Detroit Marathon, the Detroit Half Marathon, which is an international half marathon, believe it or not. You actually go into Canada for a little while. It's a great race. And then we also have the Chicago Fall Half Marathon and a new race that we added, the South Norwalk Half Marathon and 5K, which happens locally here in Connecticut in South Norwalk. So if you're looking to jump on any of those teams, feel free to check out our website. We also have many virtual events happening. If you can't make any of the physical events, we have our Dino's Double, which will happen here in June, this weekend. And then we have our Work Harder happening in August. We also have many regional events like the Horner Hustle and Big Stu's Barbecue in the Chicagoland area in July and August, which this podcast, hint, hint, we'll talk a little bit about Big Stu's here in a minute. We also have a new urban rappelling series that's happening in September in the Hartford area, where we'll be rappelling down a 14-story building to raise awareness for pancreatic cancer. To learn about all these great events, visit our website at projectpurple.org and make sure to follow us wherever you are on social. We are everywhere: YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, just to name a few. Without further ado, let's meet our special guest today. As I hinted in my introduction, coming to us all the way from Chicago, the Chicagoland area. I just like saying Chicagoland. It sounds so royal. David and Sara Lapidus, the founders and organizers of the Big Stu's Barbecue. Welcome to the Project Purple podcast.
Hi, thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you for having us.
So we're excited. I know you guys, we were talking before, you guys are a little nervous, first time being on a podcast. It's all good. But you guys have been awesome. I know this is now, this is the fourth or fifth year of doing Big Stu's?
First year was 2019. So
Okay.
We did, 2019 was live. We did 2 years of virtual. And then last year we went back to like an in-person event.
Yep.
So yeah, so 5.
So this is the 5th year. Wow, man.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. So, I thank you for giving me that timeline, David, because I think for all of us, and maybe for the listeners at home can attest this, like COVID, made everything seem so long, but now that we're through it, right, it seems like it's so far beyond us, or, it was like 10 years ago when it really was only like a year and a half ago, and 2 years ago. So it's just kind of crazy. And I remember, I can still remember the first year that we did it physically in person at the community center there in Wilmette. It's just a great event. And then, then we went right into those 2 virtual years. And then last year, you guys brought it back physically. It was the most successful event, I believe, from a financial standpoint last year. Mm-hmm. So we're really excited to have you guys again, coming back to us, putting on this event, raising a ton of awareness and raising really, really important funds for our mission here in 2023. But we're going to get to this year's event. But as we just kind of given a timeline, this started in 2019, but there is a really cool story. And I want to make sure that our audience hears that story about why you guys are doing this event. So with that, I'd love to hand it over to both you and Sara to talk really about the story behind it. Like, how did you guys get to this idea back and it may have been even before 2019. And I know a little bit of the story just because we've known each other for the last 5 years and getting involved. But for our audience listening at home, I'd love for them to hear it firsthand from you guys. So with that, the microphone is yours.
Thanks. So the event is called Big Stu's Barbecue, and it is named after my father, Stuart. But everyone called him Big Stu. So in May of 2017, my father was diagnosed with a pancreatic cancer, stage 4, I believe. And, it was really difficult. It was really difficult on the family, and he passed away in February 22nd of 2018. So like 10 months. It was really, like hard on the family. It was tough because he was such a loved individual. He was just, he was very, he was very much a larger than life. So, back, like after that, I know I was talking with Sara, and, and we wanted to do something to bring awareness and to help out because what we went through was so difficult. My parents, they grew up in New York. I grew up in New Jersey. That's where they raised the family. They moved out to Georgia. That's where they retired to, and that's where he got a lot of his treatment. And then at the very end, they moved to Texas, in just outside of Dallas, because they decided to move to a different retirement community. And it was during that transition of when he had pancreatic cancer, and it was just the heartache that that basically that my father went through, or the family went through, going to all the chemo sessions, all that heartache that the family went through. I wanted to help out other families, because I didn't want other families to have to go through what my family did, which was why I reached out to Project Purple, because they focus on patient care. They focus on making sure that the families and that the patients have what they need during this time. Especially considering that I had to experience this from 2,000 miles away. I couldn't be there with him. I flew in once a month to, spend time with him, but it was difficult being away from him, because I live in Chicago and they were in Georgia, and then they were in, Dallas. So, my experience was difficult, and I wanted to make sure that basically no other family had to go through what our family did. And just, so I reached out to Project Purple, and I wanted to do something. And barbecue has always been something that my dad loved. As a kid, he used to barbecue outside. He used to teach me how to barbecue. And then whenever we went to visit them, he always took us to these barbecue places. And it was like he walked in and it was like his house. He's like, oh, there's this place in Georgia. He always took us to, and it was like, like he went there so many times. The staff knew him. And then when he moved to Texas, there was even a barbecue place there. And he took us there, and he talked about investing with them and growing it. And actually, this place is pretty big now. They've gone from like a double wide trailer to this giant restaurant down the road. And to this day, every time we go to Dallas, we go there again. And it's just this thing, and barbecue brought joy to him. So we decided to create this event in his honor. And it's a family style of barbecue, which is what he enjoyed the most, was, cooking for the family, cooking for the relatives, cooking for the neighbors. And that was his thing. And he loved to do that. So we have created that, and basically created a family style of barbecue event where people can sit down, eat, drink, talk, just have a good time. And it also brings awareness to Project Purple and raises funds for patient food care.
It's so awesome to, hear the story. And, I know the story, but just to, it's been a while, right? Like, since I remember when we met and it was like 19 and you had this idea, you came to us, which we'll talk about later in the podcast, why you decided to choose Project Purple. But to hear you say the story again and just like, first of all, I love food, and I think you guys know that, right? So anytime anyone comes to us with an idea of food, I'm all for it, because I barbecue is one of my favorites, and I don't think I ever told you this, but like my dad loved barbecue. He loved like anything that we would grill. Like clearly pasta was his favorite, right? Like coming from Dino Varelli, the Italian here. My dad's favorite was pasta, but I'd have to say like his second favorite was like barbecue, like 4th of July and like Memorial Day and Labor Day. We'd always like, in the summer months, warmer months, bust out the grill. And he loved like a really good grilled steak. So, there's a little, for me, sentimental here, hearing you talk about like your dad's passion for barbecue and just the fact that, you're able to like take this such a strong thing that you had this bond that you would do with your family and especially your dad, and now bring this to other people. And, something you just said about family, man, I just got chills, because like you think about, like, we always talk about like the patients, right? And what you just said in your story, like, hey, you're up in Chicago, like getting to your dad, and like, the family is impacted so much by this disease. And I think so many times we kind of like, in this space, because we're so patient focused, right? We kind of forget a little bit about the family, which is not really right, because I get it. Like the patient is suffering, right? They're the one doing the treatments, but the family suffers as well, right? And they deal with it in a different way. And so, the fact that barbecue was so special for your dad, but it's what like brought you guys together. Like, I just love that story. Like, you guys are in Dallas and he's taking you out to barbecue to his favorite joint, and that's where you guys are having probably, you probably remember all those conversations, all those things. And like you said, like the restaurant was a double wide and now it's this big restaurant. Mm-hmm. But then now what you're doing to turn that back and give that back to bring people together is just really, really special. So it's just awesome hearing that story. And it's just kind of super resonating for me. Clearly family was such a big deal and has become what Project Purple has been about, right? Like when we think about our programs, and you mentioned the patient financial aid, like, yes, we're supporting the patient, but then that's supporting the family. And, our programs that we have that involve, running, it's, we always talk about, it's not just one person running the race, but it's a family supporting that person, whether, it's a spouse running and you have someone, watching the kids or taking care of the house or helping fundraise and putting on events. So it's just awesome. The backstory of this is really such a critical part. And I'm thankful for you guys for sharing that. And it's just awesome because it's just so in line with what the culture here is at Project Purple, and just really appreciate all the support. So let's shift gears a little bit, because I mentioned in the beginning, the 2008 to 2019, that first event, I think you had 6 pit masters or grill masters, we call them, right? We had like we had an area for some fun and games. You did have a food truck there. We had an ice cream truck there. And then you had like really like a serious grill competition. And I remember we rolled up and you had great raffles too as well. We came in and I was like, man, these guys are, and there were a couple people there that were really serious. And then I think you had a really cool group of friends. I mean, it was like all of them, right? Like you had like the serious grill masters. Mm-hmm. Then you had like the group of friends that were just, I remember I was talking to, I think it was a group of maybe your neighbors, and they were like, yeah, like, this is our first time, but we've been, I think there was like one of them was a brisket, and, you have to smoke it for a while and prep, there's a lot of work that's involved. And then I think that guy on the end, he brought like, and it was wild too, because they brought their own grills, right? And there was like different grills. It was like it was really cool, but I was like, whoa, this is like serious here. But
Yes.
and it's kind of evolved now. So now this
Yes.
year's event looks a lot different. I know, just with planning, and you guys have a young family. And so, and also that's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Right? Like it's a
Yes.
lot of work. But it was so delightful. I mean, I remember we were tasting the different, they had desserts and they had the different meats. It was really cool. But now the event looks a lot different, and it's at a venue, which is a lot. I think this is actually, to your point, from a family fun. And I think that first year we talked about, like, we had the field and we were like, oh, we could do like kids races next year and all sorts of games. But now we've got it at a venue. And so let's talk about this year's event and how that looks. And the event's happening on July 8th, correct?
Yeah. So it's July 8th. So yeah, the very first year was really great, but we were new and it was a lot of work. Not that it wasn't worth it, but it was a lot of work for us to manage. And then there were those 2 virtual years that were pretty easy to manage, but not as fun. And so last year we decided we partnered with a brewery in Stokie, which is outside of Chicago, pretty close to where we live, called Sketchbook. And we partnered with them and then got some food vendors. So last year we did just kind of the afternoon. This year it's going to be an all-day event where we have a pizza place for lunch and some burgers for dinner and some other fun appearances. But yeah, people just come, have some drinks, have some food. There's a silent auction, things like that. So you can just come and hang out, and Sketchbook is donating some money from beers, and then the food vendors are donating their proceeds as well. And then the silent auction, we'll have that. And we have Staley, the Chicago Bears mascot, making an appearance. So it'll be just an all-day family fun event.
And Sketchbook, so I just want to make sure for listeners at home that are in the area, so they have an outdoor space, indoor space. So we have access to, you guys have access to the entire space, and kids are allowed. I don't know the rules. And I know here in Connecticut, I think kids can attend breweries, but like clearly like there's no consumption of alcohol under 21, but but so this is a family friendly event. Anyone can come.
Yep. Anyone.
And
anyone from all ages.
Do they allow pets there too? I know that's a big thing.
They do actually.
Okay, cool.
They do.
Some people don't have, children. They have fur children. So, like I know that's a big thing here in Connecticut. A lot of the breweries here now have these like magnificent outdoor spaces, and people love bringing their dogs, and they're pet friendly and stuff like that. So pets are allowed. Awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a huge patio. There's a nice indoor area. Just bring anyone you want to bring.
Yep.
And what time does the event start, Sarah and David?
It's from noon to 9. So it's really the whole day.
Yep. And the Bears mascot is going to be there from 2:30 to 3:30, taking pictures, doing autographs.
Awesome.
So right in the middle.
And then if you're local and familiar, we have Grateful Bites coming with pizza for lunch. And then
love their pizza.
Yep. And then Hoffer is a local butcher, and they're doing some barbecue type items for dinner. So we'll have something for everyone.
Yep.
Awesome. Grateful Bites, great family. I know they've been impacted by pancreatic cancer, sadly. Great Neapolitan style pizza up there on the North Shore. Really, they are great people, and really pizza connoisseurs when it comes to pizza. So they've got great pizza and just really, really awesome. So that's awesome they got involved. So this is like a little bit rapid fire here. Why should people attend?
Do you want to take that?
Because what else do you have to do on a Saturday in July? You want to be outside with your family, right?
I know.
Absolutely.
Good times, good food. For a really great cause. It's just a lot of fun. We have some really great prizes at the auction. Bears tickets, two sets of Bears tickets, Cubs tickets, Blackhawks tickets, Northwestern football tickets. We have some food experiences. We have lots of gift cards for restaurants. We have dance.
Ravinia tickets?
Yeah. We have Jason Mraz at
Wow.
at Ravinia. We have some Kaleidoscope dance tickets for, like if you have kids and they want to take some dance lessons. We have tons of items.
Awesome. And for those that are listening that live in the Chicago area, so if they can't make the event, I know we do have a site. They can still bid on the auctions?
Yes.
Correct. So like naturally we'd love for people to come out and, stop by, make a donation, have some great pizza, some other great food, have a great beverages. But if you can't make it that day and you live in the area and you want to take advantage of the auctions, we'll put that link in the podcast as well. You can still bid on those auctions. And I guess we can say too, like if people don't live in the Chicagoland area, but are big Bears fans or Cubs fans, they may want to get in on that action too.
Absolutely.
So great auctions. And you can always, the greater Chicago area is a wonderful area, as much as the media doesn't say that sometimes, but that's neither here nor there. But there's some great venues there, from entertainment to sports. It is really an amazing sports town. So if you're into sports, it's a great place to be, because there's a lot of really passionate Bears, Cubs, and White Sox fans, naturally. But, if you're planning a trip in the fall or in the late summer, it's great to take a ride up to Wisconsin, which is not very far, or down to Indiana, again, not very far. For, Notre Dame fans, it's only an hour and a half drive from, I think, O'Hare. So it's pretty manageable. So great area. Even if you don't live in the area and you want to bid on one of these great auctions that the folks have put together. So awesome.
Yeah.
One of my last questions here, and this is really, I know we talked before we hit record, and I'd love to kind of, I don't know if we ever have asked this question of either of you, Sara and David, and you can be as honest. I mean, be honest, please. I should never say like you should be honest. Like that's assuming that you're not going to be honest, but I want you to be 100% honest. I wouldn't be offended by any answer, but why did you guys choose Project Purple?
So when I, thought of this, and I was, talking to Sara, I started to Google around to see the different pancreatic cancer non-profits, and it was your focus on patient care that really drove me to this, because of what like my mother went through, and because of what my brother and I went through on this. I wanted to focus on the families and the patient care, because I remember my dad's treatment for chemo was, really early in the morning, and my parents had to travel, and they had to, stay over at a hotel. And, that was very difficult on my dad. It was very difficult on my mom, because I think at that time, my brother moved from Georgia to Dallas, which is why they moved from Georgia to Dallas. And, so they were on their own, and, and my mom would tell me about basically having to take care of him at the hotel, make sure that everything's set. And then, being with him and bringing blankets and bringing, all that type of stuff. And just the amount of stress that put on her, and the amount of stress and, that it put on my dad while he was trying to fight this terrible disease. I wanted to relieve that stress from the patients and from the families, because it's such a bad disease. It really just, he lasted 10 months, and, to make life easier during that short span is probably worth anything to the families, to just make life easier during that, hard time. And when I was doing my research, Project Purple seemed to really focus on that. And that's what I wanted to focus on. So it seemed like a perfect fit.
Man, it's really special to hear. And, I go back to what I said before. It's just really, really special. I knew the story, and I remember, and I didn't mention this, that first year I got to meet your mom and your brother. They were there in that physical event. It was just really cool. I remember that picture. We had that picture of the whole group with everyone, right? And the kids and you and Sara. I've often said that, this disease is so nasty. It's very dark. I've always felt our job is to, put positivity in the world in this space. And one way in doing that is to make sure that people don't feel like they're alone, right? Because it can be this very alone feeling. And a lot of times families feel like they are alone, like they have to fight this on their own and, no one else is there to help them. But to have families who go down that road and have this eventually happen what happens, but then to give back is really, really special because you don't have to, right? Like you guys have a young family, you're both busy people. You don't have to give back, and there's nothing wrong. I'm not trying to say that, but I think it's really special when people do, because we're in a really weird time in society. I feel like in the world, not just here in the United States, but in the world. And, to have people to give back, to help complete strangers going through something that they also went through, to me, that's humanity. I think we've kind of lost a little bit of that. So it's so refreshing and it's so special to find that in families and people that give back to help people going through the struggle and whatever that struggle may be that they've been touched by. So I just want to thank you guys. I know it's not, it takes a village and, your mom, your brother, and everyone else that's been supportive of the event over the last 5 years, this being the 5th year. It's amazing. You guys have raised thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to support our mission. And I've always said here, and you guys have maybe heard me say this, but for our audience listening at home, like we don't get to do the great things we do without families like yours, Sara and David. So thank you, because we are making a difference, right? We've helped over 1,000 families via our patient financial aid. We're about to roll out a meal assistance program that's going to impact families in a very positive way. Here in New England, New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. We hope to eventually get to Illinois and the whole country with a program similar to this, but we're really super excited to be able to help people, now with food assistance, because that has become a big problem in the last year with inflation and everything else. But it's because of families like yours that allow us to do these great things. So from all of us at Project Purple, thank you. For believing in our mission and for supporting our mission and taking this on. And it's a great honor for Big Stu. I know your dad's watching from above, and he'll probably be doing some barbecue on July 8th to celebrate.
Yes, he will. And to circle back to something, we have like a volunteer list for the listeners that are in the Illinois area. I know that probably Dino can put that on the podcast link or something, but it is just us two. So volunteers keep this going. So you know what, if you want to volunteer like an hour of your time, please sign up. Anytime is very, helpful. We need people to be at the auction table, to walk around with the 50/50, just lots of things. So volunteers definitely keep this going and is very appreciative.
I love that. So here's my close. Ways to get involved. If you live in the Chicagoland area, you can clearly attend the event and spend lots of money. You can get involved in our silent auction by the link that we'll provide and bid on one of the amazing auction gifts that we have. You can donate to the event, right? You can always make a donation. And last, you can volunteer, which, is really time, and we need plenty of volunteers. I know we've got a long list that we're working on, but there's plenty of opportunities to help out. It's a long day. Like to your point, David, I love that. Even if you have an hour to spare, come hang out, help out with one of the many tasks that we have that day. So to learn more, follow the links in the description here for this podcast and also on our website. Closing, Sara and David, thank you for believing in our mission. Thank you for all you're doing for all those fighting pancreatic cancer. We have this saying here that, we always say, you are Project Purple, but I think that's pretty poignant here because you guys are what Project Purple is. So thank you for all the work and all the energy. And we can't wait for July 8th to honor Big Stu in Stokie at Sketchbook. Can't wait for it.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep. Well, thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Project Purple podcast. If you like what you hear today, feel free to share this episode. Make sure to follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow us on YouTube. Until next time, please be safe. That's a wrap of another episode of the Project Purple podcast.